Welcome cartel members, Anons, Facebook friends, Twitter followers, random YouTube viewer. Thanks for joining me. My name is Julio and I am the Theorizing Theorist. And today you guys might be hearing a little ghost kitty walking and wandering around. If you don't know, ghost kitties are my little nicknames for my kids. Yes, baby. The puppy, she has a new puppy that's hers that we have. But you might be hearing her in the background. I got one of my kids back home with me. The other two are with their grandma still on an extended little vacation, I guess. But today we're going to be going over where are the boys, and I got some things I wanted to address. I'm kind of new to this case, the Orrin and Orson West, also known as Classic and Sincere. They are missing. And I'm a little frustrated how everyone's going after the parents or the adoptive parents. Now, I'm down to go after either or. Don't care who, they can all get the same treatment from daddy. But what I'm trying to say is the kids are still missing, people. These kids are still missing. So let's focus on finding these kids. They could still be alive, okay? They could very, very possibly still be alive. They could be dead, okay? And who knows what else. But we're praying that they're still alive. Let's just read this. Sincere and Classic Pettis were born in Bakersfield, California, to their biological mother, Ryan Dean. Now, so some of y'all, this is a new case. I did do a video on it earlier, but we're going to kind of go over some things because I noticed some things that I wanted to talk about. And it was already on my mind. I was like, man, this is kind of odd. And then I read this article and it just kind of confirmed what I wanted to do since a couple days ago with all these missing children cases. But we'll get into that in a second. So first, according to Dean, around the beginning of 2018, she arrived home from work, and one of her sons seemed to be crying in pain. Ryan says she took the baby to the hospital right away, and the baby, who is now known as Orrin West, was diagnosed with a broken femur. Dean claimed to be unaware of how the injury happened. Child Protective Services removed the boys from Dean's custody, and according to Dean, she last saw the boys at the end of 2018. That year, Trezell West, 34, and Jacqueline West, 31, became the boys' foster parents. In 2019, the West family officially adopted Sincere and Classic and changed their names to Orrin and Orson West. Orson, born June 11, 2017, is now 3 years old, and Orrin is now 4. The West family has 2 other adopted children and biological children. Seems kind of messed up to me to change their names. I don't know if anybody else feels that way. But anyway, just something I noticed. On Monday, December 21st, 2020, both of the little boys disappeared, according to adoptive parents, Trezell and Jacqueline West. Now, I get changing their last name, maybe. If you adopted them, sure. But the first names? Orrin and Orson had been playing outside with chalk while Jacqueline wrapped Christmas gifts inside their California City home. The family's other 4 children were staying over at their grandma's house during this time, with the Wests saying that Orrin and Orson stayed home with them because they're the youngest. That's not really a reason, dude, but okay. So this is obviously a biased writer here, and let's see who the writer is real quick. Christina Aliperti. So we're going to stay as unbiased as we can for now, even though I already have kind of a way I'm going to go with this, and I won't reveal it until later. But let's just see, where was I? Sorry guys, I'm trying to... Okay, here we go. On Monday, December 21st, 2020, both of the little boys disappeared, according to adoptive parents Trezell and Jacqueline West. Orrin and Orson had been playing outside with chalk while Jacqueline wrapped Christmas gifts inside their California City home. The family's other 4 children were staying over at their grandma's house during this time, with the Wests saying that Orrin and Orson stayed home with them because they're the youngest. That's not really a reason, dude, but okay. Oh, did I read that already? I think I might have. I'm sorry, guys. I have my kid here and it's a little distracted. But it really isn't a reason. So maybe it's good. Maybe God wanted me to reread that. It's kind of a lame reason. If you have 4, like me right now, I made sure Grandma and Grandpa took all the kids. Right? And only after fighting me, really, yesterday, did I let my 2 eldest stay with their Grandma and Grandpa. Right? But I don't know. Maybe I get it, but I don't get it. It's not really a great reason, especially since the kids disappeared. I mean, what are the odds, right? And we like odds here at the Theorizing Theorist, or here at an All-American Cartel. So anyway, it was a little before 4:30 p.m. when Trezell West went outside to gather firewood, and according to him, went back inside the house for a short time. When he came back outside, the boys were gone. Realizing that he had left the gate open, he panicked. Trezell says he then jumped into his vehicle and drove around the neighborhood looking for the boys and asking neighbors if they'd seen him. A neighbor's camera would capture him getting into his white van at 4:32 p.m. What I really want to know is what else did the camera capture that hasn't been released? I feel like there's much more. And if there is much more, guys, understand this thing was made in February or whatever. So comment down below any new info, if you want. But there's a purpose to what I'm sharing this. Let me get to it. The boys were reported missing at about 6 p.m. over an hour after they seemingly vanished from outside of their home at 8 p.m. The California City Police put out a news release with a description of the boys, but their names and pictures were not released until a couple of hours later. That night, a search for the boys was conducted by the police along with volunteers. Now, this is where I want everyone to pay attention because we're trying to find the boys. That night, a search for the boys was conducted by the police along with volunteers. The West family was not there. The canine unit was brought into the home and the boys' scent were found inside the house, but not outside at all. So the scent was found inside the house. Now, I don't know how the canine determined what the boys' scent was. Anyway. It also appears that neighbors in California City don't recall ever seeing the boys known as Orrin and Orson. But the canine unit did get the scent on the inside, so we need to figure out what did they use. Did they use an item from inside the house that was supposedly the boys or was it an item from, when the boys were over there in Bakersfield? I mean, I'm just curious here. So anyway. They were not seen outside at all, which is not uncommon. I don't know how hot it is in Bakersfield, but I mean, generally, I don't know. This is in the Christmas time, right? So, generally, I mean, my kids don't play out in the front yard. And if you have a fence that's fenced in and gated in, it makes sense that the kids would spend majority of their time in that area. Anyway, these are just observations, guys, so don't kill me in the comment section. The West family... let's see here. It also appears that neighbors in California did not recall ever seeing the boys known as Orrin and Orson. The West family moved from Bakersfield to the California City home a few months earlier. Did the 2 youngest of their 6 kids arrive with them? Why hasn't anyone seen them in the past few months? It's only been a couple of months, so let's relax. The next morning, the search for little Orson and Orrin continued, but was unsuccessful. Later that day, the Wests were brought in for questioning by the police. By that time, the evening came. Investigators were at the West home with a search warrant. When they left the home, they had a duffel bag and several brown evidence bags with them. The West van was also towed so it could be searched. It was reported that night by KGET 17 News that FBI agents had also interviewed Trezell and Jacqueline West, and they were cooperating with law enforcement. On Wednesday, December 23rd, 2020, the West home, along with the backyard, was searched again, and the West spoke with the media for the first time. Trezell explained what was going on when the boys went missing. The West said they weren't part of the search because the police had told them to stay in their home during the search, and that their 4 other children had been removed from their home since Orrin and Orson had been missing. They also discussed their phones and computers being taken as part of the investigation. I'm curious as to what they found and why they took the other children. That's probably indicative of them finding something or knowing something, or else they would have been returned to them at this point, I would imagine. Let me know in the comment section below if you know if the kids have been returned and all that good stuff. So anyway, for me, watching the West speak, one of the things that stands out to me is when Trezell says Our boys, to me this is a little bit annoying, but we're going to read this because it really gets to a good point, and it's going to lead to my next segment here. For me, watching the West speak, one of the things that stands out to me is when Trezell says our boys. They are going to be rambunctious, okay? They are going to be here in this area, and I really would like to go in the houses, but it's not because I want to invade people's privacy. I just want to know. Then Jacqueline cuts in and says, make sure. And Trezell finishes his sentence saying, make sure. I'm not exactly sure why those words bother me, and this is what annoys me. Why? What? So silly, that part at least, but there is something there. But something about the way he says all this really makes me feel uncomfortable. It's as if he's trying to convince everyone that the boys are in the area, maybe even in a neighbor's house, which leads me to believe when they're found, it won't be in California City. I'm really starting to believe that they never made it out of Bakersfield. Now, that's where I'm going to end this little segment here and switch to my next segment. So I want to try to start something, and maybe Ray Sean could help me with this, and maybe even Nina Boy, if that's his name. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but anyway. So I'm going to show you something here. Give me a second. All right, so this is what I wanted to show you. So California City is ground zero at this point. The logic of this person that I was just reading from is flawed, 100%. The only places that these people weren't allowed to search were in people's homes. So if Rayshawn 100 is in California City, I'm not sure, I thought I heard he was in California City, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But if people in California City really wanted to solve this case, at this point, they would walk door to door and knock, okay, on the front door as polite as can be, and ask them if they've seen Sincere. There's only 14,000 people, at least as of 2010. I don't know if it's grown substantially or not, but this is still a relatively small town. Estimate 14,198. Okay, relatively a small town. It'd be relatively easy to dwindle down a list of houses that are not, what's the word I'm looking for? Not playing along. I'm not saying you have to knock on the door and say, let us search your house. Not by any means. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to just go door to door and see which ones don't answer, which ones are aggressive and tell you to get off their property. You know, granted, these kids might be in a house that has a basement that's all secured and locked up and soundproofed. You know, we've seen this numerous times. My baby is here next to me. Sorry, guys, if you hear the little ghost kitty talking. Baby, be quiet. Let me make this video. So anyway, let's hope she understands what I just said. So anyway, so there is a large land area, right? And they already ran the dogs, and I'm sure if they're not in on it, then they did their job. And it's going to be one of those things where if you kidnap them off the street with the van, you'd be able to pull into your garage, and that's if they're still in California City. But let's since that's ground zero, and it's not like Los Angeles, right? 14,000 people, houses are spread out. I think it'd be easy to at least start from the epicenter, from where the houses are, and just go door to door, knock on some doors. Now, I'm not telling anybody to do this. This is just what I'm thinking, like, would be kind of a good idea. But you go out there and you knock on some doors. You what's the word I'm looking for? You pinpoint a couple of houses that seem to be maybe suspicious. Be it with, you know, the property, with the way the property looks. Is there like a storage unit on there? Is there, now, you know, things like this. Now, this isn't a guarantee you're going to find them, obviously, alive or dead. But at the very least, what if these kids are being tortured or abused in one of these homes, right? Now, if you checked out my last video, I was being, you know, serious. I was being pretty serious, but at the same time, I didn't put much effort into it. Now I'm going to put some effort into it. I feel like We're getting a lot of resolution kind of with the Cash Gurnan case. These kids haven't even been found. What are we all doing? Let's try to find these kids. Let's put their bodies to rest if they're dead, and let's bring them back home if they're alive. Let's not give up on these children. They didn't just vanish into thin air. Okay, and in this day and age, evidence, digital evidence, all that stuff is slowly disappearing. Okay, so like what I'm trying to get at is, have you guys gone to the 7-Elevens? Have you guys gone to the local gas stations and checked all that? I'm sure the police have and all that, but what have they found? I just don't know how these kids disappear like that. So I don't know. I'm at a loss for words, but what I do know is if we could check in California City and just do, hand out flyers, and make sure it gets in everybody's hand, and make sure that people that are suspect or people that are, anti the efforts of searching for these kids in Cal City are pinpointed, especially if they live in Cal City, that their houses are pinpointed. And what happens is cops can't go in there, right? They can't go in there without like a reason to go in there. They can't call the cops themselves because they are the cops. But if you call the cops as a concerned citizen and simply say, hey, can you guys go knock on this door? I'm just concerned that maybe he has the Oren and Orson kids in there. And make sure you're not just doing this like as a lie, because obviously that would not be legal or good. But if you're truly concerned maybe and you've already have it pinpointed down. Now, this is going to require a group effort that I think maybe Rayshawn 100 and Nina Boy can spear. This is just an idea. Maybe they could spearhead it. I don't know. But that would be my first guess. I live in a really small town, and if my kids came up missing, you bet your ass that whole town, that every house in that town would be searched or would be under the radar, let's just say. So I'm not sure if that's what's not already going on down there, but with the population being as small it is, let's start there. Let's find these missing kids, and let's start a trend maybe of helping these police officers out in situations where they can't go into these houses that they want to go into because they don't have probable cause and they don't have a reason. But if a freaking citizen out of the blue, randomly, not affiliated with the obvious, because it'll taint it, calls the police and says, hey, something's up with this house, man. Can you go check on it? I'm not saying to make up things, but just make sure the cops get there and go inside, right? And chances are, if the kids are there, the police will be met with an appropriate reaction, I would imagine. And if not, then you know what? At least we're still looking for these dang kids. Hopefully the kids hear the cops banging on the door and know that we're still looking for them. And if it's their souls that are watching from up above, then they know we're looking for the killers still. So that's all I got for you guys. Sorry to waste your time if it's even a waste. I'm sure it's not a waste to you guys. You guys are really good and been really good to me. So please be sure to check the description box down below to donate if you want. There's a Cash App, PayPal, Venmo down there. Also, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, share, comment down below any thoughts, concerns, and all that. And as always, the routine. To God be the glory.